Commander Tai checked her uniform one last time. The meeting with the Voidari would begin soon. Her small team stood ready. Dr. Sung, Communications Officer Ba, and 2 Marines led by Captain Kang. Remember, Ta told them, they will be afraid of us. Move slowly, speak softly. Show them we're more than our weapons. The airlock door opened. The time for scans and messages was over. Now the true test would begin. Face to face with an alien species that saw humans as monsters. The Thunderstrike and the Voidari ship Starlight both traveled toward the space station. While the ships moved, Science Officer Yoon continued to study the data from the scan. Captain, I've been analyzing the human crew more closely, Yoon reported. Their biology is even more surprising than we thought. Captain Mok and Medical Officer Du joined Yoon at his station. The screen showed detailed images of human bodies. Their internal structure is incredibly resilient, Yoon explained. They have a solid bone frame protected by layers of muscle. Their vital organs have redundant systems. Redundant systems? Du asked. Yes, they have 2 lungs, 2 kidneys. Their liver can regrow if damaged. Even their heart, while singular, has multiple chambers and backup electrical pathways. Du's large eyes widened further. It's as if they were designed to survive injury. Exactly, Yoon said. And look at this. The screen changed to show a human digestive system. They can eat foods that would kill us instantly. Their stomach contains acid strong enough to break down complex proteins and kill most bacteria. Their immune system attacks foreign bodies aggressively. Captain Mok looked troubled. It sounds like they're built for war inside and out. Not for war, Yoon corrected. For survival. There's a difference. On the Thunderstrike Commander Ta called a meeting with her senior officers. They gathered in the conference room near the bridge. We'll be reaching the station in 6 hours, Ta said. I want everyone prepared for first contact with the Voidari. Dr. Sung raised his hand. I studied the scan data we got from their ship. The Voidari are very different from us physically. They appear to have evolved on a low-gravity world with minimal environmental threats. Meaning? Asked Marine Captain Kang. Meaning they'll find our normal conditions difficult, Sung explained. Their bones are lighter, their muscles weaker. Our standard gravity might be painful for them. We'll adjust the gravity in the meeting room, Ta decided. What about atmosphere? They breathe a similar mix to ours, but with less oxygen, Sung said. They might find our air too rich. I suggest we provide breathing masks for them. Ta nodded. Good. Any other concerns? Chief Engineer Park spoke up. They might be frightened by our appearance. We look solid compared to them. Heavy. We can't change how we look, Ta said. But we can be mindful of our movements. Move slowly. No sudden gestures. The officers nodded in understanding. Captain Kang, select 4 Marines for security, Ta continued. But make sure they understand this is diplomatic, not combat. Kang nodded. I'll choose my most level-headed people. Back on the Voidari ship, Science Officer Yoon discovered something new in the scan data. Captain, look at this, he called. Captain Mok floated over. The Voidari ship maintained low gravity, comfortable for their species. I found their medical records, Yoon explained. The humans deliberately expose themselves to weakened forms of diseases to build immunity. They infect themselves with diseases. Medical Officer Du asked, horrified. Yes, they call it vaccination. It trains their immune systems to fight specific threats. Yoon looked up at his captain. And that's not all. They regularly expose themselves to physical stress to strengthen their bodies. They lift heavy objects repeatedly. They run long distances. Why would they torture themselves this way? Navigator Lee asked. Because it makes them stronger, Yoon said simply. Their bodies adapt to stress by becoming more resilient. Captain Mok considered this information. Select our team for the meeting carefully. Anyone with a weak constitution should remain on the ship. I want to go, Hume said quickly. This is the scientific opportunity of a lifetime. You'll go, Mock assured him. We need your expertise, but be prepared. Meeting these humans will not be easy. In her quarters, Commander Te reviewed everything they knew about the Voidari. They were a peaceful species, focused on science and exploration. They had advanced technology, but few weapons. They would be afraid of humans. That much was clear. The scan had shown them human capacity for violence and survival. But Tai was determined to show them something else. Human capacity for understanding and cooperation. She picked up a small metal box from her desk. Inside was a gift for the Voidari captain, a symbol of peaceful intentions. As both ships approached the station, the crews prepared for a meeting that would either begin a new chapter of understanding or end in disaster. The galaxy had many types of planets. Most aliens in the Voidari Confederacy came from gentle worlds, planets with mild weather, few predators, and plenty of food. These were Class 3 worlds. Earth was not like that. Earth was a Class 12 death world. Science Officer Yoon pulled up the file on humans as the scan continued. The data was limited, but what they knew was frightening. Captain Mock, you should see this, Yoon said. Mock moved closer, his thin body moving gracefully in the low gravity of the Voidari ship. Humans evolved on a planet with crushing gravity, extreme temperature changes, deadly radiation from their sun, thousands of predators, and constant natural disasters, Yoon explained. Their planet should not have produced intelligent life at all. And yet it did, Mock said quietly. Yes, and that life had to become strong just to survive. Commander Ta walked through the corridors of the Thunderstrike *, checking on her crew. They were ready, but calm. Tai liked that. A calm crew was an effective crew. As she walked, she remembered her childhood on the colony world of New Sol. It was a harsh place, not yet fully terraformed. The air was thin. The ground shook often. Storms could kill if you weren't careful. When she was 10, a huge storm had hit the colony. The shelter doors had jammed. Her father had forced them open with his bare hands, breaking 3 fingers in the process. He'd saved 20 people that day. That was what humans did. They survived. They endured. They protected each other. Tai entered the engine room. Chief Engineer Park was checking the fusion reactor. "How are we looking, Chief?" she asked. "Ready for anything, Commander," Park said with a smile. "The reactor is running at full capacity. We could outrun them if we need to." Ta nodded. "Good, but let's hope it doesn't come to that." Back on the Voidari ship, the scan was revealing more about the human vessel. Their ship materials are processed at temperatures of over 1,500 degrees. Hume said, voice filled with disbelief. "Our ships would melt at half that heat. How do they make such materials?" asked Navigator Lee. "They build giant furnaces. They stand near rivers of molten metal to forge their ships." Captain Mock shuddered at the thought. The Voidari needed special cooling suits just to work with warm materials. The idea of rivers of molten metal was like something from a nightmare. "And look at their gravity settings," Hume continued. "The humans maintain artificial gravity equal to their homeworld. That's nearly twice what our bodies can handle. No wonder they look so dense," Mock said. Hume pulled up an image of a human. Compared to the thin, graceful bodies of the Voidari, humans looked solid, heavy, strong. Their muscles and bones developed under constant strain, Yoon explained. "A human could probably crush our bones just by grabbing us too hard." The bridge was silent as this information sank in. In the armory of the Thunderstrike *, Marine Captain Kang watched his soldiers prepare. They didn't know if they would need to fight, but they would be ready. "Check your suit seals," Kang ordered. "If we need to board an alien vessel, we don't know what kind of atmosphere they breathe." The Marines nodded. They had trained for this. Their combat suits could protect them from vacuum, radiation, extreme temperatures, and most toxins. They were built to keep humans alive in places where nothing should live. "What do you think they're like, Captain?" asked one young Marine. Kang shrugged. "Probably afraid. Most species are when they meet us for the first time. Why would they be afraid? We haven't done anything." Kang smiled. "We don't have to do anything. Just being what we are is enough to scare them." The scan continued to penetrate deeper into the human ship. Hume's eyes widened as new data appeared. "Captain, I found their weapon systems." Mock moved closer to the screen. "What kind of weapons do Deathworlders use?" Hume's voice trembled as the answer appeared. "The kind that end worlds." For the first time in his long career, Captain Mock felt true fear. The scan was only beginning to reveal the true nature of humanity, and what they were seeing would change the Voidari forever. The space station was neutral ground. Neither human nor Voidari, it was built for trade and diplomacy between different species. The station had many rooms with different gravity and air settings. Commander Tai and her small team waited in the meeting room. The gravity was set lower than Earth normal. The air contained less oxygen. These changes would make the Voidari more comfortable. "They're coming," Captain Kang said quietly. The Marine stood near the door, alert but relaxed. Ta nodded. "Remember, no sudden movements." The door slid open. Captain Mock entered first. Behind him came Science Officer Yoon, Medical Officer Du, and 2 Voidari security officers. Tay's first thought was how fragile they looked. The Voidari were tall and thin, with large eyes and delicate limbs. Their skin was pale blue. They moved gracefully in the low gravity. Captain Mock stopped a safe distance away. Even with the lower gravity, the Voidari moved carefully, as if afraid of falling. "Captain Mock," Ta said, keeping her voice soft. "Welcome. I am Commander Tai of the Earth Alliance ship *Thunderstrike*. Mock bowed slightly. "Commander Ta, thank you for agreeing to this meeting." Ta noticed how the Voidari security officers kept their hands near their weapons. They were trying to look brave, but their large eyes showed fear. "Please, sit," Ta said, motioning to the chairs. "We have adjusted the room conditions for your comfort." Mock looked surprised. "You lowered the gravity and oxygen levels?" "Yes. Our doctor studied the data we received from your ship." Ta smiled. "We want this meeting to be comfortable for everyone." The Voidari looked at each other. This simple act of consideration seemed to surprise them. They sat down at the table. The humans sat across from them. Even seated, the differences between the species were clear. The humans looked solid and strong. The Voidari looked like they might break with one wrong move. "I believe we should address the scan first," Ta said calmly. "You scanned our ship without permission." Captain Mock's thin fingers tapped nervously on the table. "Yes, I apologize for that. We were curious about your species." "And what did you learn?" Tai asked. Science Officer Yoon spoke up. "That humans are unlike any species we have encountered before. Your ship, your bodies, your history, all show remarkable resilience and strength. And this frightens you," Ta said. It wasn't a question. "Yes," Mock admitted. "You come from a world we would find lethal. You build ships that can withstand conditions that would destroy our vessels. Your weapons could easily destroy us." Ta nodded. "I understand your fear. But I want you to understand something about humans." She leaned forward slightly. The Voidari tensed, but didn't move away. "We build strong ships because space is dangerous. We create powerful weapons because we have learned that peace must sometimes be defended. But our strength does not define us." "What does define you, then?" Medical Officer Du asked. "Our choices," Ta said simply. "We choose how to use our strength. When we detected your scan, we could have fired on your ship. Instead, we opened communications." Captain Mock considered this. "Why?" "Because meeting new species, learning about the galaxy, building relationships, these things are more important than showing our power." Science Officer Yoon's eyes widened with understanding. Your ship is built for war, but your mission is peace. Exactly, Ta said. Captain Kang spoke up. We prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. It's how we've survived. The Voidari seemed to relax slightly. The conversation continued, covering various topics. The humans explained their history and culture. The Voidari shared information about the Confederacy, a group of species working together. As they talked, Ta noticed Science Officer Yoon watching her with intense interest. You have questions, Science Officer? She asked. Yoon nodded eagerly. Many. Your species is fascinating. How do you live with such high gravity? How do your bodies process oxygen without damage? How do you? Yoon stopped, embarrassed by his enthusiasm. Ta smiled. It's all right. Questions are the beginning of understanding. We have many questions about your people too. Captain Mok looked at Ta with new respect. Perhaps we misjudged humans. We saw your capacity for war, but not your desire for peace. A common mistake, Ta said, but one we can move past. She reached into her pocket and took out the small metal box she had brought from her ship. A gift, Captain Mok, a symbol of our hope for friendship between our peoples. As Mok reached for the box, the first step toward true understanding began. Science Officer Yoon's hands moved quickly over the control panel. The data from the human ship poured in faster now. Captain Mok and the bridge crew gathered around, their faces showing a mix of fear and wonder. Their weapon systems are excessive, Yoon said. They have projectile weapons that fire metal at speeds that would tear through our shields like they weren't even there. Projectile weapons, Navigator Lee asked. That's primitive technology. Not the way humans use them, Yoon replied. They've taken a simple concept and made it deadly. These rail guns use electromagnetic forces to fire metal at speeds our sensors can barely track. Captain Mok's thin fingers gripped the edge of the console. What else? Nuclear missiles, Yoon said, voice dropping to almost a whisper. The bridge went silent. Nuclear weapons were banned in the Confederacy. They were too destructive, too dangerous. Are you certain? Mok asked. Yes, multiple warheads designed to cause maximum damage. And that's not all. Yoon pointed to a new set of readings. They have energy weapons too. Lasers powerful enough to cut through ship hulls. Plasma cannons that fire superheated gas. Because they expect to fight, Yoon said simply. Their entire ship is designed for war. Aboard the Thunderstrike Asterisk, Tactical Officer Jin continued to monitor the alien scan. It was penetrating deeper into their systems now. Commander, they're scanning our weapons arrays, she reported. Commander Ta nodded. Let them look. Maybe it will convince them not to start a fight they can't win. Communications Officer Bai turned in his seat. Commander, I've been analyzing their transmissions. I think I can open a channel soon. Good work, Ta said. Keep at it. I want to talk to them before anyone gets nervous and does something stupid. The bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. Unlike the Voidari, they weren't clustered together in fear. Each person knew their job and did it well. Todd watched the alien ship on the main screen. It was beautiful in its own way. Delicate. Perhaps too delicate for the harsh reality of space. What do you think they're like? Asked Jin. Todd considered this. Different, but that doesn't mean dangerous. Remember your first contact protocols. No sudden movements, no showing teeth if they consider it aggressive, no assumptions about their biology or culture. Yes, Commander. Jin smiled. Diplomacy first. Railguns second. Let's hope it doesn't come to railguns, Ta said. The scan had now reached the life support systems of the human ship. Yoon's eyes widened as he read the data. Captain, their atmosphere. It contains nitrogen and oxygen. Oxygen. Medical Officer Du stepped forward. In breathable quantities. That's highly reactive. It would damage our lung tissues. Their ship maintains a temperature of 20 to 22 degrees Celsius. Yum continued. And their water. It's just H2O. Pure water would kill us. We need the minerals in our water to survive. Captain Mok shook his head in disbelief. Everything about them is deadly to us. There's more, Yoon said. Look at their medical bay. The scan showed a room filled with equipment the Voidari couldn't identify. There were beds with restraints, sharp metal tools, and containers of chemicals. What are those tools for? Asked Navigator Lee. Medical Officer Du studied the images. I think they use them to cut into bodies. They cut their own bodies. Lee's voice rose in shock. For medical treatment, yes, Du said. They physically remove damaged parts and repair their bodies with metal and synthetic materials. The Voidari used non-invasive treatments. The idea of cutting open a body was horrifying to them. Voidari gods protect us, Mok whispered. These humans are more alien than anything we've ever encountered. In the Thunderstrike's medical bay, Dr. Sung checked his supplies. Surgery tools were clean and ready. Blood packs were stored in the cooler. Medications were organized in the cabinets. A young medic approached him. Doctor, do you think we'll need to treat any of the aliens if they come aboard? Sung shrugged. Hard to say. Their biology is probably very different from ours. We'll have to be careful not to poison them with our medications. Could our atmosphere hurt them? The medic asked. Possibly. Many species find oxygen toxic. Some can't handle our gravity. Others might get sick from our bacteria. Sung smiled reassuringly. That's why we have isolation protocols. We'll keep them safe if they visit. The young medic nodded, but still looked worried. Dr. Sung put a hand on her shoulder. Remember your training. First, do no harm. That applies to all species, not just humans. As the medical team prepared for possible first contact, the Voidari scan reached even deeper into the heart of the human ship. What they would find next would test the limits of their understanding. Commander, they're scanning our reactor core now, Tactical Officer Jin reported. Her fingers moved across the control panel, tracking the alien scan. Commander Ta nodded. The aliens had been thorough. They had scanned nearly every part of the Thunderstrike. They now knew almost everything about the ship and its crew. Time to let them know we're aware of them, Ta said. Jin, power up our shields, but keep weapons offline. Let's show them we know they're there without appearing aggressive. Jin tapped her console. Throughout the ship, energy flowed into the shield generators. A soft hum filled the air as the invisible bubble of force surrounded the Thunderstrike. Shields at full power, Commander. Communications Officer Ba, have you made progress with their language? They nodded eagerly. Yes, Commander. I believe I can send a basic message now. Good. Send this. Voidari vessel. This is Commander Tai of the Earth Alliance ship Thunderstrike. We have detected your scan of our vessel. We mean no harm and wish to establish peaceful contact. Please respond. Ba's fingers danced over his console. Message sent, Commander. Tai sat back in her command chair. Now they would see how the aliens responded. On the Voidari ship, alarms blared. Captain, the human ship has raised shields. Navigator Lee cried. Have they detected our scan? Captain Mok asked, his voice tight with fear. Science Officer Yoon checked his readings. Yes, it appears so. They've known about it for some time but chose not to react until now. Why would they wait? Medical Officer Du asked. To gather information about us, just as we gathered information about them, Yoon said. Before anyone could respond, Communications Officer Sun's console lit up. Captain, we're receiving a message from the human ship. It's in our language, or close enough. Put it on the main screen, Mok ordered. The message appeared. The Voidari read it in silence. They knew our species name, Navigator Lee whispered. How is that possible? They must have scanned our communications, Yoon said. While we scanned their ship, they were learning about us too. Captain Mok paced the bridge, his thin body tense. Should we respond, or should we flee? If we flee, they might see it as hostile, Yoon cautioned. Their engines are more powerful than ours. The scan showed that clearly. And they haven't targeted weapons at us, Communications Officer Sun added. Just raised shields. Mok stopped pacing. Very well. Send this reply. Human vessel, this is Captain Mok of the Voidary Research Ship Starlight *. We apologize for scanning your vessel without permission. We are scientists studying new species. Sun sent the message. The bridge crew waited anxiously for the human response. Back on the Thunderstrike *, Bay received the Voidary message. They've responded, Commander. They claim to be a research vessel. Ta smiled slightly. Research that involves deep scanning a military vessel. Interesting research. Should we believe them? Jin asked. Their ship doesn't appear to have significant weapons, Ta said. And they did respond rather than running. That shows some courage. She turned to Ba. Send this. Captain Mok, we understand scientific curiosity. We propose a proper meeting. We can dock at the space station orbiting the fourth planet of this system. Neutral ground. On the Voidary ship, the human message caused a stir. They want to meet us. Medical Officer Du asked. Face to face. It appears so, Captain Mok said. Science Officer Yoon's eyes lit up with excitement. This is an unprecedented opportunity, Captain. No one has ever had direct contact with humans before. It could be a trap, Navigator Lee warned. If they wanted to destroy us, they could have done so already, Yoon pointed out. Their weapon systems are far superior to ours. Mok considered this. The scan had shown just how dangerous humans were, but it had also revealed something else. Their restraint. The humans had detected the scan early on, but had chosen not to retaliate. Send a reply, Mok decided. We agree to meet at the station, but we will bring security. Commander Ta read the Voidary response and smiled. They've agreed to meet us at the station, she told her bridge crew. They're bringing security. So are we, Jin said firmly. Of course, Tai agreed. But remember, this is a diplomatic mission now. First contact with a new species. It's historic. As the Thunderstrike * changed course for the space station, Tai thought about what lay ahead. The Voidary had seen the human capacity for war. Now she would show them the human capacity for peace. But first, she needed to prepare her crew for meeting aliens who would likely be terrified of them. Commander Ta stood on the bridge of the Thunderstrike *, her eyes fixed on the main screen. The stars shone brightly against the black of space. Her ship moved quietly through the outer edge of human space. This was supposed to be a simple patrol mission. Commander, we have something strange on sensors, said Officer Kim. His fingers moved quickly over the control panel. Unknown ship, hiding behind the third moon. Ta nodded. Show me. The screen changed to show a sleek vessel. It was unlike any human ship. It had a smooth, curved shape that reminded Ta of a water drop. No sharp edges. No visible weapons. Have they seen us? Ta asked. Yes, Commander. They must have. Our engines aren't exactly quiet. Ta brushed her short black hair from her eyes. And yet they hide. Interesting. Aboard the alien ship, Science Officer Yoon felt a wave of nervousness. The Voidary had been watching human expansion for months now. This was the closest they had ever come to a human warship. The Deathworlders have spotted us, Captain Mok said. His pale blue skin seemed even lighter than usual. Yoon, what do you suggest? Yoon's forefingers tapped against the smooth control surface. This is our chance, Captain. We should scan their ship. No one has ever gotten this close to a Deathworlder vessel before. Is that wise? Asked Mok. The humans might see it as an attack. We need to know what we're dealing with, Yoon said. The Council fears these humans, but we have no real data. Just stories. Mok's large eyes blinked slowly. Very well. Begin your scan. but be ready to jump to light speed if they respond badly. Hume began the scanning process. Soft lights pulsed as invisible beams reached out toward the human ship. Data began to flow into the void-area computers. Fascinating, Hume whispered as the first readings appeared. Their hull is made of metals processed at temperatures that would melt our ships. Back on the Thunderstrike *, an alert sounded. "Commander, we're being scanned," Officer Jin said from the tactical station. Her hand hovered over the weapons controls. "Should I power up the railguns?" Ta considered this for a moment. No, not yet. If they wanted to attack, they would have done so already. She tapped her comm badge. "All crew, this is Commander Ta. We have made contact with an unknown species. This may be a first contact situation. Battle stations, but no aggressive moves." Throughout the ship, men and women moved quickly to their posts. They had trained for this. In the engine room, Chief Engineer Park checked the reactor outputs. In the medical bay, Dr. Sung prepared for possible casualties. In the armory, Marine Captain Kang ordered his soldiers to suit up, just in case. On the void-area ship, Hume's excitement turned to confusion, then to worry. "Captain, these readings can't be right." Hume's voice trembled slightly. "According to our scan, the human life support systems maintain conditions that would kill most species. The air has toxins in it. The gravity is nearly twice what is considered safe." "Check again," ordered Mach. "I have. 3 times." Hume's hands shook now. "And there's more. Their power systems. They're using controlled nuclear reactions to power their ship." "That's impossible," said Navigator Lee. "No species would be that reckless." "These ones are," Hume said quietly. "And the scan is only beginning to penetrate their outer systems. There's much more to discover." Mach stared at the human ship on their screen. It looked blocky and crude compared to the elegant void-area vessel. But now he saw it differently. It wasn't crude. It was built for war. "Continue the scan," he ordered. "I want to know everything about this ship. And may the stars help us if they decide we're a threat." The scan continued, going deeper into the human vessel. What the void-area would find next would change everything they thought they knew about the universe. While the 2 ships traveled to the space station, Science Officer Hume made a startling discovery. "Captain, the scan found the ship's historical database." Hume called out excitedly. "Some of it was encrypted, but I've managed to access fragments." Captain Mach and several other officers gathered around Hume's station. The screen showed strange images and text. "What are we looking at?" Mach asked. "Human history," Hume said, his voice filled with wonder and horror. "Thousands of years of it." The images showed humans throughout time, fighting with simple weapons, building great cities, developing machines of war, destroying those cities, building them again. "They've been fighting each other for their entire history," Navigator Lee said. "Why would a species fight itself?" "Resources, territory, ideas." Hume scrolled through more images. "They evolved through competition, not cooperation like us." Medical Officer Du shook her head. "How did they survive long enough to reach space?" "Because they always rebuild," Hume said simply. "Look at this." The screen showed Earth after what appeared to be a terrible war. Cities in ruins. Then, it showed those same cities rebuilt, stronger than before. "Their ability to recover from disaster is remarkable," Hume continued. "They don't break. They adapt." Captain Mach watched the images with growing concern. "Are they still this violent?" "Their history shows they've become more peaceful over time," Hume said. "But they remember their past. They prepare for the worst while hoping for the best." "Is that why their ship is built for war?" Mach asked. "Yes, to them, peace isn't the absence of conflict. It's the management of conflict." Hume looked up at his captain. "That's what makes them so different from us." Aboard the Thunderstrike *, Communications Officer Ba made an interesting discovery. "Commander, I've been monitoring the void-area ship's transmissions," he reported. They're sending large data packets back to their home territory. Ta frowned. What kind of data? The scan data they collected from our ship, Ba said. They're sharing everything they learned about us. Tactical Officer Jin looked concerned. Should we stop them? Ta considered this. No, let them send it. If more of their people understand us, perhaps they'll be less afraid. Chief Engineer Park, who had joined them on the bridge, shook his head. Or more afraid. Our ship is built to survive things they can't imagine. Our weapons could destroy their worlds. Then we need to make them understand why, Ta said firmly. We build strong ships because space is dangerous. We carry powerful weapons because we've learned the hard way that peace must be protected. The bridge crew nodded in understanding. Humans had fought many wars throughout history. Those wars had taught painful but valuable lessons. We're approaching the station, Navigator Choi announced. Prepare for docking, Tide ordered. And prepare for first contact. On the Voidary ship, Captain Mock called an emergency meeting of his senior staff. We need to decide how to proceed, he said. We've learned much about these humans. Now we must determine if they are a threat or a potential ally. They're too dangerous to ally with, Navigator Lee argued. Their entire history is filled with violence. Their ship is a weapon of mass destruction. But they haven't attacked us, Science Officer Yoon pointed out. They detected our scan and chose to talk rather than fight. Perhaps they're evaluating our threat level, Communications Officer Sun suggested, deciding if we're worth destroying. Yoon shook his head. I don't think so. Look at the message they sent. They proposed meeting at a neutral location. They could have demanded we come to their ship, where they would have all the advantages. Medical Officer Du spoke up. Their physical capabilities are frightening, but perhaps that's not their defining characteristic. Perhaps it's their adaptability. Captain Mock considered all these views. The humans were indeed frightening. Their ship, their bodies, their history, all spoke of a species forged in conflict and hardship. But there was something else too, something subtle. They could have destroyed us at any point, Mock said slowly. But they chose communication instead. That suggests wisdom, not just strength. So we'll meet them? Yoon asked hopefully. Mock nodded. Yes, we'll meet them. But we must be careful not to provoke them. Their restraint may have limits. As the Voidary ship docked at the station, the crew prepared for what would be the most important and terrifying meeting of their lives. Captain Mock carefully opened the small metal box. Inside was a simple object, a small crystal that glowed with a soft blue light. It was beautiful but puzzling. This is, Mock asked, looking at Commander Ta. A memory crystal, Tai explained. It contains images of Earth and our colony worlds. Mountains, oceans, forests, cities. It shows our art, our music, our children playing. The things we fight to protect. Mock held the crystal gently in his thin fingers. Thank you. This is a thoughtful gift. Science Officer Yoon leaned forward, fascinated by the crystal. Your technology is compatible with ours. Another surprise. We studied the data from your ship, Communications Officer Ba said. We modified the crystal to work with your systems. The meeting continued for several hours. As they talked, the fear in the Voidary's eyes slowly faded. They asked many questions about humans, and the humans asked about the Voidary in return. Medical Officer Du was particularly interested in human biology. Your bodies contain so much iron, she said, and you breathe oxygen that would damage our tissues. Dr. Sung nodded. We evolved in those conditions, just as you evolved in yours. Different paths to the same result. Intelligent life, Science Officer Yoon said. He had been taking notes throughout the meeting. Remarkable. As the meeting neared its end, Captain Mock made a surprising proposal. Commander Tae, the Confederacy would benefit from human perspective. Would you consider having a human representative join our scientific council? Ta smiled. We would be honored, and perhaps the Voidary would send a representative to Earth. For the first time, A flicker of fear returned to Mock's eyes. Your world would kill us. The gravity alone would crush our bones. We have habitats designed for different environmental needs, Tai assured him. Your representative would be safe and comfortable. Mock seemed relieved. Then yes, we would be pleased to send someone. He glanced at Science Officer Yoon, who was practically vibrating with excitement. I volunteer, Yoon said quickly. I have many more questions about humans. The meeting ended with agreements for future communications and exchanges. As they prepared to return to their ships, Captain Mock spoke privately with Commander Ta. When we scanned your ship, we were terrified by what we saw, he admitted. The weapons, the armor, the soldiers trained for combat. It seemed like we had found monsters. Ta nodded. I understand. We must seem very different from your people. Yes, but now I see something our scans missed. Mock's large eyes studied Ta's face. Your strength comes with responsibility. You could destroy many species, but you choose not to. That choice defines us more than our capabilities, Ta said. We hope to be friends to the Voidari, not enemies. Mock bowed slightly. I believe that now. But I must warn you, not all species will understand as quickly. Some will only see the monster, not the wisdom behind it. Then we will be patient, Ta said. And we will prove ourselves through actions, not words. 3 days later, the Thunderstrike prepared to leave the system. Their mission would continue, exploring the borders of human space. But now they had a new passenger, Science Officer Yoon, who would spend 6 months studying humans up close. On the bridge, Yoon watched with fascination as the crew worked. Everything about humans interested him. Their strength, their resilience, their strange customs. Still nervous? Commander Tai asked, approaching the science officer. A little, Yoon admitted, but also excited. There is so much to learn. And we have much to learn from the Voidari as well, Ta said. As the Thunderstrike broke orbit, Yoon realized the final truth about humans. They were indeed dangerous, perhaps the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Their bodies were built to survive. Their ships were built for war. Their history was filled with conflict. But that wasn't what made them special. What made humans unique was their ability to be both warriors and diplomats, both scientists and soldiers. They prepared for the worst while working for the best. They built weapons while seeking peace. The Deathworlders were terrifying not because they were monsters, but because they were so much more. And as the Thunderstrike jumped to faster than light speed, carrying him into the unknown, Yoon wasn't afraid anymore. Because now he understood. The most dangerous predator could also be the most loyal protector. It all depended on how you treated them. We found their main weapon systems, Science Officer Yoon announced. His voice was steady, but his hands shook slightly. Captain Mock and the other Voidari officers gathered closer to see the scan results. The images on the screen showed massive guns built into the hull of the human ship. These are their rail guns, Yoon explained. They fire solid metal projectiles at incredible speeds. No energy signature until they fire, which makes them hard to detect. How powerful are they? Navigator Lee asked. According to our calculations, a single hit could disable our main engines. Medical Officer Du looked pale, but surely they have limitations. They must take time to reload or cool down. That's what makes them truly frightening, Yoon said. They have dozens of these weapons placed all around their ship. When one fires and cools, another is ready. They can maintain continuous fire. Captain Mock rubbed his thin neck nervously. What about their defense systems? Yoon changed the display. They have energy shields, similar to ours, but much stronger. And their point defense systems are excessive. The screen showed small, rapid-fire guns covering the human ship. These fire thousands of metal pieces per minute, Yoon explained. They create a wall of metal that would tear apart any incoming missiles or small craft. The humans call it a close-in weapon system. On the bridge of the Thunderstrike, Commander Todd watched the alien ship on the main screen. The scan was still ongoing, probing deeper into her ship's systems. They'd found the armory, Tactical Officer Jin reported. Ta nodded. It was only a matter of time. Communications Officer Bai turned in his chair. Commander, I've almost cracked their language. Their communications use similar principles to our early radio broadcasts. Good. Keep working on it. Ta turned to Jin. What sections are they scanning now? They're focusing on our weapons and the Marine quarters. Ta smiled slightly. I wonder what they make of our Marines. In the Thunderstrike's training room, Marine Captain Kang watched his soldiers practice hand-to-hand combat. Despite the potential first contact situation, training continued. The Marines moved with controlled power, each strike precise. Remember, different species have different weak points, Kang instructed. What works on a human might not work on an alien. Be adaptable. The Marines nodded. They trained for every situation, including boarding enemy vessels. If diplomacy failed, they would be ready. Back on the Voidary ship, the scan revealed the Marine training room. The Voidary watched in horror as humans fought each other. Are they killing each other? Navigator Lee asked, shocked. No, they're training, Yoon explained. Learning how to fight without weapons. But why would they do this? Medical Officer Du asked. It must cause injuries. Because they expect to fight, even when technology fails, Yoon said. Look at their Marine quarters. The scan showed rows of armor and weapons. Each Marine had a suit that could protect them in almost any environment. These suits are designed for boarding actions, Yoon said. The humans train to enter enemy ships and fight inside them. Captain Mok's large eyes widened further. They physically enter other ships during battle. Yes, their Marines can operate in vacuum, toxic atmospheres, radiation, extreme heat or cold. That's barbaric, Medical Officer Du whispered. It's effective, Yoon corrected. Most species have no defense against it because no one else does it. The scan continued, showing humans training with various weapons. They practiced with guns, knives, and even their bare hands. They don't just rely on their ship's weapons, Yoon said. Every human aboard is a potential weapon. Commander Ta left the bridge and headed to the mess hall. She needed to check on the crew's morale. As she walked, she thought about the aliens scanning her ship. What did they see when they looked at humans? Did they understand why the Thunderstrike was built this way? The ship wasn't designed just for destruction. It was built to protect human colonies, to ensure their survival in a dangerous universe. Every weapon, every defense system had a purpose. Ta entered the mess hall. Crew members sat at tables, eating and talking quietly. Despite the tension of first contact, they remained calm and professional. This was what the aliens couldn't see in their scans: the human spirit, the determination to survive, to protect each other, to face whatever the universe threw at them. Ta hoped the aliens would understand this before they made a decision based on fear. Back on the Voidary ship, the scan reached even deeper, into the heart of the human vessel. What they would find there would change everything.